again, welcome everyone to our monthly meetup. So, V, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. What would you like to know?
Which community are you leading? Where are you from?
I new? Is everybody here in this monthly meeting?
No. We have like newcomers here today.
New people.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm a newcomer. I'm V, and I'm in Canada, and I'm self-employed. So I help companies strategically plan, continuously improve, and develop cultures that helps them destroy all their competition. And I see community building is a big part of what I do, communities of practice in particular. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Erin, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I don't know if my camera or microphone are working. I can't see myself, so okay.
It's working.
Excellent. I'm Erin White. I am the group's program manager at Anaplan, and just help people with events and connecting and talking about how to use our platform more strategically. And I'm based in Minneapolis.
Thanks, Erin. April, welcome.
Hi, everyone. I'm April Schupel. I am the community and app market lead at Appian, and I am vagabonding for the summer. So I'm currently at work, but I'm all over the place all summer.
That sounds like fun.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's nice after a year and a half of being cooped up. It went from one extreme to the other, you know.
Yeah, I have two toddlers, so sometimes I just want to run away too.
Maybe you and April can hook up and vagabond together.
Hi, Regina. Welcome. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm hiding behind the veil a bit because I'm making up a cup of tea and wandering around the house. Hey, Jessica. I work for Reforge, which is a startup. We focus on tech. And not tech. We're an ed tech company focusing on education for mid-level and senior people in tech around growth and product and all that stuff. And we just rolled out a community for our members. And so we're in the nascent stages of community. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, this would be a good one for me to pop. So I will unveil myself once I have my cup of tea and I'm back at my desk.
Good
Thank
to
you, Regina.
at least hear you. I can't wait to see you. It's been a while.
Iker?
Hello, everyone. Hi, this is Ilker. I'm joining from Istanbul, the only city where two continents meet, if you like. I'm one of the co-hosts of the Istanbul chapter. You know, we always, try and support other chapters all the time. And this is a community this is a concept that is very close to my heart, motivation and everything. I used to manage Google communities in this region, the developer communities. And now I'm a freelance strategist, one of the very few in Turkey. So really excited to be here, and thanks for putting up the show. It's fantastic.
Thank you, and I'm sure you will have a lot to contribute after presentations. Okay, so I think that Gerard. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing correctly. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah.
We're hearing you and seeing you. So we're not hearing you very well. So let's.
Let me try on my laptop.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
Okay. My connection seems to be kind of slow.
I think that just slowed the whole platform down, that one. Everyone just froze there. Jared's a bot.
Okay. So.
Hacker.
Great. So, hi, Roland. So we will start and we will go back to doing this round of introduction after the short talks. Fantastic. So we will start with Jessica Langston. Thank you for joining today. And then Katarina Ferreira will share also from OutSystems their program.
Okay, so just quick check. Can you hear me? Can you see my slides? Great. Okay, awesome. Well, I am excited to kick this off, and it was fun to put this deck together and just kind of thinking about, how do we motivate our group leaders? Sometimes you're so close to it, it's almost difficult to step out of the weeds and kind of think that way. So I already did some quick introductions, but a little bit more about me. I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area. That's where Salesforce is based. So it's kind of right in my neck of the woods. And I started at Salesforce back in 2013, working on the developer relations side. And I really just kind of found my way into community. It was something that I just thought was so cool, so different. My marketing background kind of just was like, I kind of threw it out the window and just like full in on community, and I haven't looked back. Building our developer community, and there was a point where we kind of brought together, we had some siloed community programs and we brought it over into one, and that's when we rebranded as the Trailblazer Community. And at that point I was leading our team of community managers, and I did that for several years, and then around 2019 I became the director of Trailblazer Community. And so I feel pretty lucky. It's an awesome job, and this is a little bit more about our community and our leaders specifically. So I kind of think of it in a few different buckets. We have our Trailblazers Online. We support our online community, which we just relaunched, which was really exciting, our new reimagined community. So if you want to go check that out, we had combined with Trailhead, which is our learning platform, and our community, and brought that together into one experience. So it is pretty cool. We're excited about it. But on our online side, we have people that are leaders that are helping to answer questions and just giving their knowledge back. And we also have over 1,000 collaboration groups on the online community. So we have, and those are really open for anyone to start, public or private. So we have a lot of those online groups. And then our community groups program, or chapters program, or however you want to refer to it, user groups program, we have both virtual and local chapters. And I'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like. We also have some amazing community conferences that we support. So we work closely with the organizers of those conferences and the planning teams to make sure that they feel supported and have what they need. And then we have our Salesforce Mvp program, which is really our product experts and leaders in the community. And this is our recognition program. So we host annual nominations and we award MVPs on an annual basis. And that's another, key program that we work very closely on, and definitely core to our community. But today we're going to talk very specifically about our Trailblazer community groups, and these are all led by customers and completely voluntary. We have over 1,300 groups at this point, which is incredible to say, in 90 countries, and we have over 1,800 leaders, and they are meeting 300 times per month. So pretty much any day of the week, there is a community group event happening. So as you can imagine, our team is quite busy. and just a lot of lessons learned along the years of growing to this point. So hoping to kind of share some of that knowledge back here and kind of what's worked, and some more tactical things that maybe you can take away for your own programs. All right, so here's a little bit more about how we motivate our leaders. So when I was thinking about this topic, I kind of was starting with the why, like why are people motivated to become a leader in the first place? And I think this is a question, I'm a very curious person by nature, and I think that works well as a community group leader, or a community manager, because like you're constantly trying to get feedback from your community to understand them better and to understand what they need to be successful. So I just thought it would be good to kind of take that step back and understand the why first before you just go right into the tactics of how to motivate. Because this is something that we definitely do. I mean, on our leader application, it's one of the questions we ask is, why do you want to become a leader? And that really helps us to understand kind of the themes that, not everyone has the same motivators, but it's good to understand, as a whole, like what are the motivators from your community, and trying to see what those common themes are. Of course, we also host a lot of leader surveys. We do an annual leader survey to our group leaders, but we do a lot of kind of ad hoc things, just getting feedback, whether it's programs or processes or things that we want to see how we improve. We're constantly getting that feedback loop with our leaders. And of course, we do a lot of one-on-one conversations still, not losing that personal touch. And we have a support handle too. So just having the visibility into the insights from the cases that we receive, or FAQs, if you're not quite at that scale yet, just like what are the things people are asking for, and just making sure you're keeping a close eye on kind of why people are starting to want to become a leader with your program in the first place. And so for our community, it looks a lot like learning, connecting, and getting shared success together. So the first thing is really setting the framework for success, and creating a space for leaders to thrive. And I think this kind of all goes around like ownership, right? I think there's pride in ownership with most people. And it's something I talk a lot about at work, is like, if we're talking about a task at hand, it's like, who's going to own it? You have to have an owner, right? And I think it's really important when you, just from the get-go, it's just setting some clarity around what their role is, and making sure that they have everything that they need for success out of the gate. But I think that clarity was something that kind of I honed in on, because I think letting them know, like, if they're applying to lead a group, that they're in fact are the leader, right? And it's not going to be Salesforce, it's really on them. And that community or that local chapter really relies on their ability to keep it active and to make sure that they're meeting on a regular cadence. And they really rely on that. And if a group does go inactive, it's like one of the first thing we hear is from the members, because they're like, I want to connect, I want in, like, what's going on. So I think it's really important to set those expectations up front. And then, as we built our program, we have so many resources. It started very simply, but, as we continued that feedback loop, they're like, we want to have content for our meetings. And so we created a content library, and we want to network with other leaders. So we created opportunities to do that. But then we realized, we had so many resources that it was like a little overwhelming, especially for newbies that are coming into the program. So the next tip is really just onboarding, but don't overwhelm, especially if you have a lot of resources. We started out very simply of like, welcome to the program, here's everything you need. And then it started to get that feedback back that they felt overwhelmed and almost defeated out of the gate, right? It's just too much too soon. So one of the things that we're currently working on is just creating more of an onboarding process and journey, and not making it so like much of just a brain dump of here's everything that you're going to need to be a leader and good luck, right? So we're going to do a little bit more hand-holding and do it in more bite-sized chunks. And this is something that we're looking at, is creating like a 30-day onboarding journey that will have steps and kind of like a drip campaign in a way, where they get bits and pieces, and so it doesn't become so overwhelming, and it's a little bit more thoughtful. So far, the feedback has been good. We're still working on rolling this out, so I'll definitely give you updates along the way on how this is going, but something really excited about. And actually some of the leaders that we had just shared this with are like, oh, I want to go back and do my onboarding all over again. So hopefully it's a step in the right direction. And then never lose that personal touch. As you can imagine, growing to the scale of over 1,800 leaders, that's incredibly difficult to do at scale, but it's so important. And I think it really helps people feel connected to our team, to Salesforce, to feel supported, to feel like they have that gateway where they can come and give feedback and just share, what challenges they might be having. So some of the ways that plays out for us to check in with our leaders is we have regular office hours. We definitely do one-to-one coaching conversations. We leverage tools like Calendly so that we can kind of keep our calendars open and accessible. And I still share my calendar out, even though I'm a director. I mean, part of my job that I absolutely love is still just having a chance to talk to our Trailblazers. So definitely just making sure we keep our, that personal touch. We have virtual coffees. We offer mentorship. So sometimes we can't always scale our team to the size of our community too. So often we rely on some of our more tenured group leaders to help do that work too. So there's mentorship opportunities, and that really helps some of the people that are newer to get feedback. And in some ways that could be even more effective because they're hearing it from up here. And then we started doing an advisory board. I think that was back in 2019. We just relaunched a new advisory board. So we're going to keep it going because it's been pretty successful. And this is another way for us to really touch base with, volunteers. They all raise their hand. They want to be a part of it. And this is another opportunity for them to get feedback and really shape the program from that feedback. So we look at it as a co-design, and this really helps them feel engaged and that their voice is heard, and that they really feel like they have a say in where the program goes. And it really is the feedback from the community that helps to shape our roadmap. So that's just not lip service. It is something that we definitely practice. And here's another topic that is near to dear to my heart, is kind of creating a reason to host an event. We started to kind of pilot some different ways to do this, and kind of sharing kind of our more successful launches, which is creating these halo events and event in the boxes. So we really kind of centered around what are the reasons why our community may want to get together. And often it can be, for us, it can be our biggest conferences. We host Dreamforce every year. We have Trailhead DX, which is our developer and admin conference. And so those are fantastic opportunities. I mean, people are already engaged and they want to be a part of it, or they're attending in person, hopefully one day again. And these are really fantastic ways to get your community engaged. So we started to do this, I think it was back in 2018. It was with the first Trailhead DX. I remember we started to doing viewing parties. And it was just an opportunity for them to get together, to kind of watch the keynote together, have a celebration. And it was great. But at the same time, they wanted more. They really wanted to get the content. They wanted to learn together. So we wanted to package that up. And that was kind of what is now Global Gatherings, which is where we put all the best content from our in-person conferences into a box. Essentially a virtual box, and try to package that up in a way that's really friendly for a group meeting, whether it's presentations, having speaker notes, maybe having demos that are scripted out, and just making it super simple for them to take all that good learning from the conferences and take it to their communities. And really, it extends those events in a way, and it gives access to so many more of our customers that we ever would at a conference, because there's a limit to how many tickets you can have. And with community, it really helps us to extend all the work that we do and put into a conference, and all that amazing content that, you know, our content producers put together. It's like, why not just turn that over to the community and let them kind of run with it? And so that's been fantastic and super successful. Of course, you know, right now it's a little bit difficult with everything being virtual. So we did pivot this year, and we were also getting a lot of feedback from our community group leaders that part of the challenge and why they weren't necessarily hosting a meeting was because they were strapped for time because of COVID and everything else going on in their lives, that they were just, you know, this was something that was slipping. And so we did some watch parties this year, and we piloted it with our world tour events, and we did it again with our marketing connections event. And then we did the big one with Trailhead DX, which was just, I guess, 2 weeks ago. I can't remember anymore. And it was fantastic. It was just a little bit more simplified. It was just like, hey, just host a watch party, get together, have some fun. We sent out some kits with like little watch party kits and some shirts just to kind of extend that celebration out to our community. And it was really fun. And I'll share the results of that on the next slide. We've also done with Dev Week, Pro Bono Week, working closely with our .org side of the house. And then when we did rollouts like Lightning, we did something with the Lightning Tour, which Regina probably remembers because that was when she was at Salesforce, where it's just like looking for those opportunities that your community is already kind of excited about, and then creating something that gives them an opportunity to meet. So hopefully that makes sense. So here's a little bit more on Trailhead DX watch parties, which was just, like I said, it was just very recent. And we actually had over 200 groups participate in 36 countries, and we had over 6,500 attendees at those events. So it was really, really popular. Here's some of the tweets and people kind of sharing their swag kits they were super excited about. They were taking screenshots and sharing on social. It was just a lot of fun. And for some of and we saw a huge spike, by the way, in meetings from this event. And so it was really fantastic and just nice to see that there was still that response and people were motivated to continue to meet. But sometimes you just got to give them a reason to do so. And then another really important one is peer-to-peer inspiration. So we just find that a lot of our leaders really want to network with other leaders. And so we really try to do this whenever we can. This picture is from Dreamforce 2019, where we host an annual kind of group leader meetup. And this was like one of the biggest ones that we had. And I mean, it was just incredible to see that many people in a room. I miss having people in a room together. It was great. But this is where we kind of celebrate them, and we'll give updates on the program. We'll talk about, you know, the program as a whole and how they fit into it. And then also making sure that we're sharing successes. You'll see on the right picture there, that was a panel that we hosted with some of our group leaders, just giving them an opportunity to talk about how they lead their groups. And we did some really fantastic networking circles at that event too, where we split them out by either the type of group that they ran or maybe what region they were in, whether they were like a 10-year plus veteran or they had just started a group, and just giving them a chance to meet with kind of their people. And of course, we also love to just celebrate our leaders. I mean, I can't state it enough. What they do is so amazing. The fact that they volunteer to help, you know, start these local chapters and help other people learn and connect and really succeed at Salesforce is just mind-blowing. So we always try to bring the fun and the inspiration back into our community and really celebrate our leaders. So as an example here, this was when we celebrated over 1,000 community groups. We put on like a big virtual party, and we just had a lot of fun just celebrating them. So just encouraging you to bring the fun and celebrate milestones, award great leader characteristics, share success stories. That's something that like we do often, where we highlight and spotlight our trailblazers. Keep those personal touches, and also keep that attitude of gratitude, because you know what they do is so amazing, and just continuing to thank them, it goes a long way. And I think that's my last slide. I wanted to keep it a little bit concise, so we have time for the next presentation, but definitely will be open for questions and conversation after.
Wow, Jessica, thank you. it was like very packed well, but so many ideas and an experience I think that you shared in the last like then I didn't keep track of time minutes. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So forgot to say that if you have questions to Jessica, you can drop them on the Q&A chat because I know I have questions. But let's go to Katarina Ferreira, and then we will do a long Q&A. And hi, Eli, who joined us, my co-host. He will be joining with his camera, I hope. So, Katarina.
So, hi, everyone. It's really nice to be here. Jessica, it was an amazing presentation. Really excited to hear it. Can let me just share my screen. And I'm hoping you can see it.
Yes, we're seeing that. Fantastic.
Perfect. So I'm Catarina Pereira. I'm a community events manager at OutSystems. So I started my journey with community close to 2 years ago. So before that, I was doing design, and I was already in the events world, but not specifically within the community. So I was doing weddings, completely different. And then, yeah, so close to 2 years ago, I joined OutSystems and embraced the challenge of creating these events specifically for our own community. So in terms of our user groups, so we are a bit, well, we don't have as many groups as Salesforce, but we have a really strong community. So we have close to 65 groups, and we are in 33 countries. So obviously we want to grow. We want to bring as many developers as we can to our events as well. And right now we have around 100 leaders. So one of the things that we do on a daily basis is try to motivate our leaders and making them feel like they are in a safe place and that they can improve and grow. So this is how we do it. So it's all about the leaders. So one of the things we've seen is that we need to know them. So we have a few community managers spread around the regions, but it's really important for us to also have a close relationship with them, to know them, to making sure that they know us, that they know that we are in a safe place, that they can reach out to us, that they can, I don't know, bond with us, and whenever they need, they can always come to us. Another thing we find really important, and we have had a few examples in the past, is to set expectations. So they are building communities. It's something that they are not used to doing. So it's really important for us to tell them that a community is not grown from day to night, and that it takes time, and that sometimes their events might have fewer people, but we will get there. So it's not about the amount of people, but the quality of the event and of the people and of the sharing that make the events. The other thing we always do is we listen. So we find really important, and it's completely like central for them to feel motivated, for them to feel listened to. So we always find space for them to give us feedback, for us to be available to chat with them, to sit down, to share concerns and create a better event and a better community from that. And lastly, it's a matter of just taking all of that and improve from our end as well, because we are not perfect. We don't do perfect events. We are not perfect community managers. And it's just a matter of taking all the feedback from the leaders and improve. And then also, obviously, because everyone loves special incentives, so this is something we always have. And actually, part of this we only started doing a few months ago. So we created Slack Workspace, so a private communication channel for them to connect, for them to talk with each other, for them to discuss topics, to discuss how to run events, the best networking tools, and all of that. So we want them to bond with each other, and it will also help us to take a step back and let the other leaders take the opportunity to learn from each other. Something we also created was a shared drive. So we have shareable resources from presentations to documents, best practices, all the stuff they need to thrive. So if they are doing, so our events are usually technical presentations. So if they are doing an event regarding a special feature, they can just go there and they don't need to create an event from scratch because they already have their presentations. They can just adapt. And then one of the things that we are working on is on the rewards. So we are creating, we have not a standard swag kit that we send to community members, but we are in the process of creating a special swag kit just for them. So like a hoodie or t-shirts or things for them to wear at the events. It's swag kits, I swear, it's one of the things they asks us most. So whenever we have a new jacket or a new hoodie, they are always like, oh, when can we have that? So we want to create that for them as well. And we have community profiles. So we want to also add special badges. We want for them to also have that recognition within their community profiles. And then lastly, another thing that we are in the process of creating is just workshops. So they are not from the events world. They are not used to doing community. So we want them to have all the resources they can to make the most out of it. So we are in the process of creating workshops like how to pitch at an event or how to host an event, how to run an event, all of that. And as well, we are doing some mentoring sessions. So we are taking advantage of the older senior members we have amongst the leaders, and we are pairing them with junior. So this will help them. As Jessica was mentioned, it's peer-to-peer. It's really important for them to learn. And as we grow, we won't be able to manage all of them at the same time, although we want to have a close look. But the mentoring sessions will help. And then just a few tips and tricks that we have. So they are not foolproof, but they work for our community. So one of the things we always do is just be optimistic and be cheerful. We always, whenever we have, whether it's planning calls or just coffee or right before the event starts, if we are attending like an online event, we always try to be optimistic, to be cheerful, to set the right mood. And whenever we do this, we see that they even themselves get happier, they get more relaxed. And then it's about empowering the leaders. So as I was mentioning, we have a set of resources and we do a lot, we are with them every step of the way. So it's just a matter of empowering them, giving them all the tools they need to succeed. And lastly, it's about reassuring them. So they are leaders for a reason, right? So they know what they are doing. They know about whatever they're going to talk about at the event. They know pretty much everything. So it's just a matter of starting, right? Even if they are beginners, if they've never done an event before, it's important for them to know that we are here and that we are here with them to help them every step of the way. And then after the events, what we always try to do is just to praise them. Just take a minute to send them an email, to send them a message and congratulate them on the event. Just say, hey, it was a good event. I'm so happy that you were able to do that and all of that. But it's not just about praising them. It's about giving them constructive feedback as well. So no one's perfect. We are always learning. And it's really important for us to give them the feedback, but to give them in the right way. It's just not about giving bad feedback, but making sure that they know that it's okay and that they can improve in the next one. And this was me. So it was a really short presentation, but I hope it helped. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Short and to the point. Thank you very much. Fantastic. So I see we have some people joining us. Welcome, everyone. So we can start the Q&A. Do you have questions for Jessica? So Erin, I saw you had a question, but it just disappeared from the...
That was my fault, 100%. I'll take ownership. I went to answer it live. I don't know. That was the wrong thing to choose. I don't know what that option is. Was that question for me? I could definitely try that.
Yeah. So Erin, do you want to ask your question? If you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, sorry. I ran off to go make some lunch. My question was just, I love everything you guys are doing at Salesforce. We've patterned a lot of things after some of the things we've seen you doing, which is just awesome. Thank you for being so willing to share it. But our initial issue is really converting from some of our original internal leaders to external leaders and getting them to come in the door and go through the onboarding process and start getting that wheel going. Any advice for getting over that initial hurdle?
Yeah, I think we were kind of like our best kept secret for a while. Like we just did not do a good job of making it discoverable of, hey, you can start a group and make it just super easy to find. And I think sometimes that is a hurdle because that requires alignment from, all sorts of people within the business to, get that listed and to get marketing support to do that. So I will say getting marketing support was a huge way for us to get over that hurdle because it helped us to like brand everything, gel it, bring it together, make it clear, concise, and easy to find. It used to be kind of like word of mouth, and like you would email me when Regina came in. I remember it was like to our personal email. There was no support handle. So I think just getting through some of those hurdles in the beginning, really, that's when we started to see it kind of bloom and kind of explode to where the point it is now. But, on the flip side of that too is, you get a lot of people that maybe don't know what the expectation is of a leader, or they stumble on it. That sounds cool. I'm going to sign up. And there's a lot of work with being a group leader too. So that's kind of why I went into that. Setting that expectation up front is something that we're trying to do too, because otherwise you see a lot of that drop off where people apply and then never host their first meeting. And that's definitely a challenge too. So that's where we're kind of working through creating some pre-application steps, making sure the expectation is clear up front, what that means, and kind of that clarity of what the role is. And we used to have some internal folks that would, try to step up as leaders, and we really had to just kind of draw the line of like, no, that's not going to happen. They can still all obviously play a role, and they could help to motivate and champion and do that and then be involved. They could speak at events. They can help to find and mentor new leaders, and that helps to extend our team's reach. And I love that. So it's like also kind of walking that fine line of not demotivating those internal champions. Like, hey, we're so happy that you're so excited about community, but we don't want to like overstep too. Like, we're Salesforce and we really want this to be community, and just kind of drawing that line was important for us as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
I got
Jessica.
a question. It's a little off to the side for Jessica, but I'm really curious too. I'd love to know what your children are building in the next room.
Yeah, I'm sorry about the construction noise. Yeah, my father-in-law is just
teasing.
knocking down walls. I don't know what he's doing right
With the
now.
kids. Okay, I'm teasing.
Best timing. Yeah.
I got a comment on someone put in there for digital swag. I don't know. I just made a connection with the non-fungible tokens. Does anyone not know what a non-fungible token is?
I have one. I just bought.
You just bought one. So I'm thinking of non-fungible tokens. as maybe some kind of digital swag. I don't know how you make them. I don't know where they come from, but you know, if you do it now, they could be worth significant amounts of money into like, you know, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, non-fungible tokens that were from 2021 for group leaders. Anyway, there's an idea.
Yes, it's a good investment.
We've been doing a lot of cert vouchers because, you know, certification or being a certified Salesforce admin or, you know, developer is really a popular thing. And so we've been doing cert vouchers, and that is pretty cool because it really invests in their learning too. So I love that as a digital swag. And I think we were actually exploring doing some like printouts at home for like those little lollipops that we had sent out just to be a little more sustainable. That was feedback that we got. So I think that's might be a fun way to do it too. For those crafters at home.
Jessica, you said that the leaders are volunteers. How about Kat? Are the leaders of the communities, are they do you pay them, or are they just, no, they're never paid? So I'm new to this community thing, so I'll have the stupid questions.
It's not a stupid. There aren't stupid questions.
I could think
exactly.
Of some,
Not today. But there are, I have to say that I don't remember who was it, but first of all, Erin, for example, their community leaders were in the past employees of the company, and they're shifting to be with volunteers that are not employees. I think this is why we're doing this talk today, because people that are actually doing a lot of work for your company and they're not paid, it's hard to motivate them.
Is there some thinking around, or is it happening in different communities where those leaders are getting some kind of kickback or cut of subscription? Or, I mean, to me, it sounds like community building can be another revenue stream. It's definitely an expense.
So when you're a community leader, you're usually doing that for specific reasons. From my experience, it's building your personal brand as experts on something, or on the relevant topic of the community you are building. It's you want to contribute to the community because it contributed a lot to you. I did see some cases, or you usually want to really like help your educator, for example. You're selling, you're teaching, you're doing courses. So again, it's in the end, it's like coming back to you because it's kind of a marketing. But if you're doing that authentically, so it's good for the community. You're really building a community. It's also getting back at you from getting jobs and teaching. Like you're spreading your name. So it's in the end, usually it should pay off. And if not, they stop volunteering. They don't do their meetups. Somebody want to add to that?
Yeah, I can. Eli knows firsthand. Jessica knows. I mean, you know how I got into Salesforce. It was through the community that Eli manages. And I've been doing that for free for over a decade. And I do it because I had a personal motivation to do it. And that kept me, and it still keeps me motivated. I'm still organizing that group. It fell off a bit during the pandemic, you know, and that's opened doors, you know, professionally, but also mostly personally. I really am highly vested in the mission of the community that I manage. And so, yeah, I'll stop there. And I do have a question also, so just that I put in the Q&A section.
Yeah, I mean, just to add on, I think, you know, I would be cautious, of course, you wouldn't want to ever, I think, put any financial gain from community. I think that would just create the wrong motivation from the get-go. But from our end, you know, we see, it is a lot of personal. People want to connect to help solution together. They want to, I think a lot of people learn best by teaching too. And so there's that component. They do want to build a network, and networks are so important, whether they're an admin on Salesforce, then they want to connect with other admins so that they can succeed in their career and their career path and build that network. I mean, it is, there's so much good that comes out of it. And then also it's a lot of fun too. I think people have a lot of fun with it, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you can't put a price tag on it, but I mean, it just makes it incredibly, I think something that people want to be a part of, and it helps build that connection. I'd be curious to hear what other people think on that.
It's pretty much similar on our community at OutSystems. So one of the things we usually ask them why they want to be user group leaders, their answers is always, we want to give back to the community. So they really want to give back. So they've learned with the community. They've learned through networking with other people. So it's a matter of just giving back as well. And another thing that we've seen is that they have, upon entering the program, they have a direct line with the OutSystems community. So whenever they need something, if they have questions, if they have any concern, they can always reach out to us and we'll help them, even if it doesn't have to do with user groups. So it's just a direct line to OutSystems in our case.
Yeah. Hi, Eli in Vancouver here. And yeah, I think what I'm hearing from Tali, what I'm hearing from Vera in the chat is bang on about my experience. Most of my time in my orientation interview is less about overviewing the program, but really trying to get deep into the motivation for that particular volunteer. And I've got like some core personas, like, is this the person who's a consultant trying to build their network? Is this the person looking for a social outlet? And going deep into the why does someone want to get involved as a leader, that allows you to really basically complete the sales job and get them to structure their particular chapter in the right way that it meets their needs. Because I want someone in that role 3 years from now. That's my goal. If they just do 2 events and disappear, well, what a waste of my time and my community's time. So that to me is always like the key thing, which is like, if we can get that right alignment, that value proposition, which is almost always not money, but instead like what Vera's talking about, those intrinsic motivations. But once we get that alignment in place, it almost always falls pretty easily out of there.
Thank you, Eli. Regina, do you want to ask your question? Sure.
Yeah, actually, for me, like I said, Reforge, our community is quite nascent right now, but I'm seeing it already. I'm seeing people move and send us messages. Oh, we want to, I'm like, literally just a message popped up in the member Slack where they're going to meet up in Mexico City with or without us, right? So the momentum is already starting, right? Got another message from someone in Singapore. Oh, I want to do this. So it's more around the issue of frameworks. And I'm happy that I've got a little bit of exposure to Salesforce and have, this experience with the tech community too. I've got a little bit, of some basics, but frameworks, what are your thoughts from OutSystems and Salesforce and anyone else who want to add? And hi, OutSystems team, by the way. Good to see you guys.
Hi, Regina.
Hey.
I feel you are everywhere right now, Regina. So every event that I attend online, you are there. That must mean something.
Reforge is 100% remote, so I'm online all the time now.
Jessica, Katarina, you want to address?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was reading while I was answering. So the question is, so you're using Mobilize right now, is that correct? And high-level tips on establishing a framework, that would be great.
Yeah, so it's more of like our developers are building everything. We actually don't use Mobilize.
Okay.
I'm just meaning they were mobilized. They're starting to mobilize to.
Sorry, I was thinking of the product mobilize.
Yeah, we did use mobilize at Salesforce, but maybe no more. So yeah, it's just an issue of setting the kind of the groundwork for spinning these up with some sort of structure, because it could go off the rails really quick. And I know it's going to change no matter what, because that's what communities do.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. And we didn't always have, you know, like I said, we started kind of from inbox and we built out quite a bit to get to the scale that we're at. I think that the quick wins for me are having a support handle is awesome. You know, just being able to track all of the questions. It's more about the insights, right? It's not so much like it's the same thing. It's an email exchange, but like having the ability to kind of track what are the top case drivers, and then that kind of helps us solution in a lot of ways what else we want to scale. And that kind of is like, can we automate? Can we build? Can we buy? Kind of just like balancing out. And I think that's like obviously a choice you have to make. And we're constantly, I think, still in a team of trade-offs. Like, you know, we have such a large community, so it's like sometimes we're paying attention to this program, and maybe we're going to put this one on the back burner because it's okay. It's kind of that MVP. We're still in that MVP, like always test and build mentality. I don't think that'll ever change. And, you know, coming from a dev relations team, I love that kind of agile mindset. And it just kind of gives us the flexibility. So I think having that support piece was key and really did help. And then from there, I mean, we do obviously a lot on Salesforce. So I think having just a customer relations management tool is really awesome and helpful. You know, whatever you do use, I think just being able to kind of keep track of everything, because it's not good to have it live all up here. You know, that's kind of that, like, you never want to feel like you can't step away from the community, because then like all of that knowledge is lost. And I think that's been a huge kind of learning lesson. You know, even with when I went on maternity leave for the first time and Regina stepped in, it was like, I think we had a day overlap to be like, here is everything, bye, you know, and that didn't feel right or good. And you want to make sure that you kind of maintain the health of the community. So just like having a place to track things, keep your notes, that's super important. And then, you know, onboarding and offboarding is such a large effort, and it's just like ongoing. So I think if you can kind of focus on like, how do you streamline, automate that piece through automation is really fantastic.
Yeah, thanks for that. I'm glad we have quite a robust and supportive engineering team. We work really closely with them. So thanks so much. I appreciate this.
Yeah, I'll let you know if anything else pops to my mind. That's what's top of mind now.
Thank you, Regina. And we can do an event about how to start chapter programs. I don't know if we've done yet. So it's thank you for the idea, and we will invite you.
That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for resources to get going and develop, and lessons learned from people who've been in it for a long time doing this. And I got one other question before you take off there, just about the data collection. Jessica was mentioning it. What other ways are you collecting data from communities?
What comes to mind for me is online community is a huge way to just get insights about what are people talking about, topics. I mean, that's kind of the biggest at scale way to measure that. So we look at, you know, how engaged are people. Engagement metrics are key to me, because I think really is like, how healthy is the community? It's kind of that quality versus quantity. You always want, it's much better to grow at a slow pace and make sure it's you know, vibrant, engaged, and people are really getting a lot out of that connection. When it comes to community groups, of course, we look at growth, you know, but that's not the most important thing. I think we started to measure CSAT of the meetings. Like, so we actually will survey the members to understand what their experience is. And I think that's a really key measure too, because it helps us to be a little bit more proactive rather than dealing with a complaint that might come up. It's like maybe we're seeing something that, maybe there's some low scores that we found from a recent meeting, and we could look into that and see what's going on and maybe reach out to the leader and have a conversation. So I think that's another great one. It's just kind of always keeping your eye on the customer experience still and not losing that, because this is an extension of your brand, and you want to make sure that people are having a good experience, whether it's a community event or not. And so that's kind of where those coaching conversations come in.
Yeah, I can also talk about what we do at OutSystems, but yeah, we use pretty much the same metrics as Jessica mentioned. We do track the number of, in this case, for only the events. So we do track like the number of people that are RSVP'd, and then we compare to the actual number of people that attended the events. So we can know like what's the difference between both of them and how we can, for the next time, get more members to not only RSVP, but to actually come to the event. Another one that we try to do, but it's a bit trickier, is the drop rate. So we try to see like how long people stayed at the event and where they dropped off, to understand if it was on a session, if it was during a break, or what can we do to improve that. So we do also check, and this is a bit different, but we do, it's not an OKR, but it's something that we try to keep on as well as a target for us. It's the number of local events we do each quarter, and then also the number of leaders we add. But that's pretty much it. And then the survey as well, because it's really important for us to get the answers and to also share the answers with the leaders, like, what would you like to hear about on the next user group or something like that? It's super valuable for them.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. So if you want to stay, okay, I'm here, I'm not leaving, because like our hour is getting to the end, but if we can stay, because I think it's an interesting conversation. Iker, you had a question on the chat. Do you want to ask it?
Yes, I think Jessica's already replied with a quote.
Okay.
And
I want to answer this more.
Oh yeah, fantastic. No, that's been great. So basically, Salesforce is 99 and obviously Google's 98. I can't believe I'm old enough to remember all this. So basically, I understand that the Trailblazer community as a community only launched in 2007. So that's what the history says. So basically, just like many companies and many products, and when I mentioned Google specifically, they all started around the product. So basically, the community came a little bit after, which is a little bit of a contrast in what we're seeing today. Just like Figmas and the Notions, they all they're born with a community, or they're like proper community-led companies. So Jessica, you've been long enough with Salesforce to see the transformation. So I was actually wondering, I was curious about the journey, and that's why I asked the question as to if it actually changed the way the community has seen. Obviously, probably it has, but also the motivation strategies and the foundation of the motivational work that you're doing with the community members. So maybe if you have the opportunity to tell us a little bit more as to how things changed since the community took central stage with all that success.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think obviously it's been a 15-year journey since the launch of the community. I heard 2006. So before, I was probably just coming out of college at that time, but a little bit past. But it is kind of it is definitely a journey. And yes, to your question, I mean, it definitely has kind of, I want to read your question specifically because there's something that kind of made me laugh, but it was, has it now become a community-led company? I thought that was fantastic. So I kind of replied with just an anecdotal quote from Brett Taylor, who's our president COO, where he says Salesforce is community is our foundation. It's bigger than us. It's our driving force. And that kind of, it's one of my favorite quotes because I'm just like, I mean, no pressure, but that's a lot to say. But our community really does, I mean, so passionate about the product. I mean, it does go back to the product ultimately, but there's also this, there's been some fantastic, you know, just with like the rebrand of Trailblazer and kind of everything that's been going on with Trailhead and just making learning accessible and then kind of feeding back into our community. And then this give back spirit where people want to help those who help, you know, someone helped them to get where they are and they want to pay that forward. So it's hard to really kind of summarize in a concise answer. But I will say it is true. It is part of everything that we do. And as our part of community manager is just making sure that we are aligning with the right teams to get that feedback in the right places at the right times. So whether that's, I mean, largely that's product, like we have a team now dedicated to just like focusing on aligning with our product organization. So our Salesforce MVPs, for example, these are our product experts, and they're really crucial in that conversation because we look at them as a resource and they come up with the best ideas, right? Like they're using the tool every day and they really just have those use cases just built into their DNA because they've been doing it for so long. And they can really just come into these conversations with product managers with so many, you know, explanations. So like making that connection is so powerful. And I think like we just want to do more and more of that and just continue that feedback loop. And the product is really where it centers around, but it also proliferates every other part of our business, whether it's like getting Trailblazers into early access for keynotes so that they can give feedback. Like, did that message hit right? Were we off? We do it on the service side. And when we hear, you know, we also have the Slack for MVPs. And if we hear something bubbling up and that they're not happy with something, it's like we're on it and we're like trying to make the connections to the right people internally. So it's pretty powerful how powerful their feedback really is because it does help shape the company.
So much.
Thank you for this answer, Jessica. So I have a question for both of you. Actually, you mentioned mentorship, internal mentorship between leaders, which is something that we are trying to push out in our community. What can you share? Like, what's the process? How thorough was the building of this mentorship process, or maybe just something much more easier?
Well, I can go first if you want, but we are in the process actually of creating the program. So we have discussed the program with a few leaders and one of like the senior leaders we have, and they are beyond excited to help out. But we are still structuring it. So perhaps Jessica can give a better input on this. But from the feedback we have from both the leaders we currently have and the ones that are joining, they are beyond excited to start doing this. But I don't have that much feedback yet to give. So super excited to hear about this, Jessica.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we're still kind of new at this too. I mean, there's no perfect way to do it, but I think it started in the community. It was community led first. I think people just were doing it naturally, finding their mentors, asking for mentors. And then we did launch a mentor portal, Trailblazer Connect, where people can go and both volunteers as mentors, and then mentees. So, and then trying to make that match, which has been, I think, part of that you know, it's been, I think, a journey. There's another team now working on it. So I don't feel super close to how like that is going, but it seems like from where I'm sitting that it seems to be a great program and really well engaged and people are getting a lot out of it. I think mentorship in general is like super positive. And I think similar, you know, we find a lot of newbies get a little overwhelmed in our community because it's like, wow, it's exciting. I want to be a part of it. And then they kind of get in there and they might feel overwhelmed or not quite sure how to get started. So I think the mentorship piece is still super relevant. And obviously we've invested in kind of creating a program and having a team that runs that. And I'm glad we're not doing that matching on our end too. I don't know if we could quite manage that. So it's been nice to kind of hand that piece of it off and just having a real program around it and making that more visible and easy for people that really want to find a mentor and just don't know the right way to approach it. Because I think it can be quite intimidating to ask. I'm not good at that either. Like I never feel right going to someone and be like, will you be my mentor? It's awkward. So how do you make that a little bit easier and help make those connections? But I think there's a personal step to that. You can't quite automate it. You know, there's always going to be like a personal component of like those intangibles. I don't think you can quite get there.
Yes, I agree, and I will follow back with you in a few months to see how it's going.
And I can maybe connect internally with who's running that program too. So
fantastic.
Insights.
I would love to. And we'll share it if it will be relevant for more, and we will bring the insights here during one of the next meetups. Yeah, do you want to ask you a question as the closure for this event today?
Sure, happy to, as I navigate all my many tabs. So let's put you on the spot about the future. So we're all really just curious, like, you know, you've all done such amazing things to this point, but what is like the one big project that's going to consume you for the next 6 months? Like, what are you tackling right now?
Katarina, do you want to go first?
On our side is our OutSystems Developer Conference for sure. So it's something we did in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, and for during 2 years, we could not do it, and we kept getting asked, when are you bringing back ODC? We want to go to OSDC. It was awesome. When are you bringing it back? And this year we finally are. So for sure, that would be one of the things we'll be mostly focused on the community team.
Love it. Let me say, like, it was a in-person conference where I got to meet other leaders that got me in this whole path like 15 years ago. Like, nothing is more exciting than to meet the super nerds who love the work more as much as you do.
And then for me, like, I think just navigating this person virtual hybrid scenario. Everybody's talking about hybrid events now, and kind of how do we both learn from doing and then kind of sharing those best practices into our community. And we're definitely focused on Dreamforce upcoming, which is kind of going to be taking that model on. So I'm sure we'll learn a lot in that process. And then we're really focusing on our online community too. That is, since we just rolled that out, we're kind of in that, like, we just are in that post GA, like gathering feedback and doing the fast fixes, bug fixes. And now we're going to be looking at roadmap and a lot of that, just improving upon where we are at with the GA launch. So I think that's definitely going to be consuming a lot of our time. And specifically to community groups, we're looking, because every community group that we have that has a chapter, they also have a collaboration group on the online community. So how are we bringing that experience together, making it more streamlined, making sure it's also integrated and that they have the same login experience across, and all of those little details that we hear so often, like, please fix this yesterday. Just trying to get those things tackled. And, you know, I'm sure there's much more, but that's what comes to mind.
Well, I'm going to pay a lot of attention and let you do all the hard work first, and then I'll be the fast follower, because right now I'm just saying hybrid event and I don't know what it means. So let you figure it out first, and then I'm going to go and steal all your best ideas. So thank you for that. Tali, back to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think.
Great job, everyone. This is my favorite CMX event so far. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, thank you everyone for coming. By the way, I think that the CMX Summit is also going to be kind of a hybrid, which is, I'm very glad, because we need experience of others to learn from. So I'm very excited about that. Thank you everyone for coming. Let's take one last shot of a screenshot. You can say hi, and I will do that. Thank you. It was great seeing you and inviting to join us also the next event. You can join the group, the chapter, to make sure you get updates. Thank you very much, Jessica, Katarina, Eli, Iker, Jessica, Falkner, Vera, and Katarina. Thank you, guys. We will share the recording on the event page like in a few days, or maybe Eli will just like Eli doing that very
I guess
fast.
that's my work. Okay, I'll take that off.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what's the next topic for the chapter program event?
Good question. We
That's
have
a really good
roadmap.
question.
We have
Do
a
you
roadmap.
have a great idea?
Hybrid events.
Hybrid events seems like one. I would love to learn about that, and also making friends with legal when it comes to, making sure you get the buy-in. That's something. And I'm also thinking of all these questions because I am revamping our current chapter program here at my new company. So an eager learner.
That's fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah. And happy to present maybe in the future. Just hasn't been revamped.
You and my legal boyfriends are doing really well. I'd love to be part of that conversation.
They're our best friends.
Are you part of the chapter programs channel on CMX Slack?
Yes, I am.
Yes. Okay. So like we can follow up there with topics like you can suggest topics for our meetups. It will be fantastic. And also we're looking for somebody to join our team to be more the online aspect, because me and Eli are stuck at that. So just to keep the conversation going on the channel. And Katarina, by the way, this is a topic-based meetup of CMX, which is, I think, very successful and made me an opportunity to do this type of events, because I had to create a chapter for my local. It's not something that I wanted to do. And we are at Elementor. We also started to run topic-based events, and I think it's going to be a big success with some challenges, but a big success. So I will take from this chat the ideas that Eli just wrote that Katarina offered. Thank you very much. Have a great day or evening.